For the second time in as many T20Is, India's spinners find a way to derail England. The last time it was a very high-profile World Cup semi-final. This time it sees them kick off this five-match contest in some style with a commanding victory in Kolkata. Welcome to ESPNcricinfo Timeout, where we are joined by Sanjay Manjrekar to look back at what was an absolutely comprehensive outing for India's younger T20I setup. Sanjay, you thought it would be a high-scoring game. That's what everyone expected at the pitch report, but ended up being as contrasting as two innings as they come.
Yes, a little bit of more help for the Indian seamers. And, I thought Arshdeep really bowled well, getting those two early wickets, using the pitch well. But Buttler showed that you can still play long innings at a very good strike rate. So England batting failed. But having said that, it had a lot to do with the way the Indian bowlers bowl, especially somebody like a Varun Chakravarthy. And later on it was just fun to watch. This is new India, so I'm sure there'll be a lot of people who would have tuned in and would have enjoyed this win for the way it was in the end achieved with what, 7 overs to spare.
Yeah, and if you look at England's batting card, remove one Joss Buttler, and it made for almost helpless reading. So let's tuck into that. On this surface, what made India's spinners click the way they did, and why were they so difficult for England's batters to read?
I think Arshdeep was the crucial bowler to begin with, who quickly realized there is something in this pitch and not so much in the air. If you saw, he was bowling short of length most of the time, and Salt struggled. There was a little bit of grip for the ball, so made the most of the conditions. Hardik Pandya didn't quite support him as much, but I thought Varun Chakravarthy just stole the show and made it easier for everyone after that. Even Axar Patel, maybe the first over, he felt the pressure. But once Varun Chakravarthy got those wickets of Harry Brook, Liam Livingston, and Buttler, things became easier for Bishnoi as well. So it had a lot to do with two bowlers, Arshdeep and Varun Chakravarthy, and that was really where the impact happened, and the match was sort of offered to the Indian batters on a platter.
Yes, I was trying to segregate those two bowlers, but you have brought up both the stars, as they rightly should. But that was an important juncture, that double strike from Varun, because after those strikes from Arshdeep early on, you felt Buttler had got England back 7 overs, 60 odd for 2. They wouldn't have been too disappointed with that. Then enters Varun, and then even the support he found from the likes of Bishnoi and Axar. Bishnoi hasn't ended with wickets, but all three spinners proving almost impossible for England to read.
Yeah, again, I'll maintain it's the kind of position England found themselves in after the kind of, devastation almost that Arshdeep and Varun Chakravarthi, wreaked on England. I mean, 5 down for 80. After that, they were just looking for survival, weren't they? And Indian spinners are good spinners, but I thought these two bowlers really made it so difficult, almost impossible for England to recover. Now, there's one batter in the world in T20 cricket who I believe has the right to play the ankle role, the only batter on this planet, and that's Joss Buttler. And it seemed like he was going to play one of those innings where single-handedly he would get his team to a respectable score, because he was, again, eyeing a big one. So amazing player in difficult conditions, wickets down. He's one batter in the world that the team always fears, because he takes his time, almost anchors the innings at a strike rate of 140, 150, and then invariably gets 100 at a strike rate of 180. So when Varun Chakravarthi got Buttler out, that was almost like the last nail in the coffin.
Yeah, it was hard not to think of the last time Buttler was at Eden Gardens, because if you remember from the last IPL, he played one of those all-timer innings where he, in fact, took all the strike through the last 3 overs, helping Rajasthan chase 200 plus. This innings, it's early in the series, but lots for the English batters around him to learn from him, because you'd imagine this spin threat, this triple threat of spin, is going to be a theme through the rest of the series.
I'm not sure whether we can call it a spin threat, purely because today, as I said, Arshdeep, got those important wickets at the top. Just imagine if there was a partnership there and India had to rely only on the spinners to get their team back in the game with, Ben Duckett and Phil Salt giving them a flying start. So I believe India used the conditions superbly. Two bowlers did, and they made the job easier. England, I think, might struggle with just the kind of skills that somebody like an Arshdeep has and Varun Chakravarthy. I think on a good day, they'll manage a Hardik Pandya or an Nitish Kumar Reddy or an Axar Patel and Bishnoi. But these two guys are difficult to get away. And suddenly, Arshdeep has sneaked into becoming India's highest T20 wicket taker. Now, that for me was a bit of a wake-up call, how quickly this has happened.
Yeah, that's exactly where I do want to take you because Arshdeep Singh, who's less than 3 years into his international career, is now on 97 wickets, India's leading wicket taker in the format. What stood out the most to you about the way Arshdeep has gone about things and so quickly made himself arguably the second most important bowler in this Indian T20 setup?
If you remember, Arshdeep came into the spotlight in the IPL by bowling the tough overs for Punjab Kings or Kings 11 Punjab. And he bowled the death overs also very well and then started playing for India. And I think it was in England that we saw him swing the ball for the first time with the new ball. So that was like an added feature to Arshdeep, who looked like a all-purpose T20 bowler, but somebody who could swing the ball. Today, you saw more seam off the pitch, so there was some smartness there. He realized there's enough in the pitch to bowl shorter and not try and get the ball full, and made life really difficult for the opening batters. I wish his death bowling is a bit like how he bowls earlier in the first spell, because for no reason when he bowls in the death, I think takes a little bit more pressure than he should when you have number 9, 10, 11 batting. He just bowled the pure death bowling stuff when didn't need to, because there's enough skill for him to not go into death bowling mode and just continue with the way he bowled in the first 5 overs, two batters down the order. But he's somebody who's got swing, he's got seam, he can bowl the bouncer, he's got the Yorker as well. So yeah, India very fortunate to see Arshdeep, finding his stride here.
Yeah, and those power play chops are well evidenced in what is now 42 wickets in the power play alone out of the 97 he's taken so far in his T20I career. Just to close out the India bowling thread, to go right to the start of the game, because so much of the build-up was around Mohammad Shami, were you surprised by not seeing him in India's starting 11?
Yes, very surprised. And you could see that when India bowled first, there was enough in the pitch for Shami to make England's life even more difficult. But I don't know what the logic behind that was. Maybe they must have felt the spinners could do the job in these conditions, and maybe a couple of days break or 4 days break now for Shami would help him. But yeah, it was a surprise. But who cares? Because India just, achieved an incredible win.
Yeah,
It was quite a, proud win for New India.
Yeah, and it's in keeping with Gautam Gambhir's Eden Gardens template. When he was KKR captain, when he was KKR mentor last year, and now this game, he likes having his spinners when he plays at this venue. Take us to India's chase, Sanjay. It wasn't going to be very difficult chasing 130, but Abhishek Sharma, what a knock that was.
Yes, and before that, Sanju Samson and Abhishek, I think faced his first ball after 2 overs. Samson had taken 12 balls at the start of the innings, and then that big over that he had, I think the second over. So Samson again doing what India have always expected from the opener. These are guys who don't worry about getting out. Samson, as we know, has finally come of age. Very interesting technique as well, with that big trigger movement going outside leg. Earlier, he was a guy who just put his front foot, you know, a little step forward and then react from there. So that is now getting the bowlers to think a little more, because the moment they want to be away from him, he gets room to play on the offside. When they attack his body, you saw the leg glance that he plays. So along with the obvious skill that he has, and his greatest strength is that when he's doing all these kind of things, the trigger movement and showing his stumps away, the balance continues to be brilliant, and he never looks to belt the ball too hard. It's just about optimum hitting. So Samson made any chance of a recovery from England was just stubbed out by Samson. And then Abhishek Sharma, oh boy, I've seen him bat in this fashion, and that was just great to watch.
Yeah, what do you make of just the ability to so consistently rack up these 50 plus scores at strike rates way ahead of 200?
Now, this is where, you've got to be very careful about talent like an Abhishek Sharma. And we mentioned that in the preview because we see that in about, 10, 15 innings. Now, for India, he's got three scores of this and a lot of low scores in the middle. So he's somebody who's going to take a lot of risks. He's not going to worry about getting out, even towards the end when he was playing those shots, it was almost like he was tempting fate in the way he was batting. So he's that kind of a batter. But when he gets going, this is what he does. So you've got to, if he continues batting in this fashion where there is really throwing caution to the wind, then he won't get consistency. Maybe that will come with maturity, but that should not be held against him. Because then the others can, chip in when he fails. Now he's got 100, he's got a 50, and now the 70 odd. And two of those innings have come against a good bowling attack. Last was South Africa, this England. Young man, and just the confidence of youth who play the IPL, which is an important reason that they don't get too unnerved by all these big foreign names like we used to during our playing days, because they have actually been around them a lot and on occasions have even, belted them around the park in the IPL.
Yeah, there was one of those big overseas stars bowling to him right at the top, and that was perhaps England's lone bright spot of the bowling effort because Jofra Archer bowled his 4 overs unchanged at the top of the innings, was clocking 150, looked at his lethal best, which is a sight they must be pleased to see.
And that is why you could see why Mumbai Indians were so excited to have Jofra Archer in their ranks, because this is a guy who just was head and shoulders above the others, and the others aren't just rookie bowlers; they're all, pretty established international names. And good move by Buttler to get him to bowl 4 on the trot, because Jofra Archer was the only one who could get a miraculous win for England. Yeah, he looked sharp. He's got that awkward length that he bowls, has got a steep bounce. But there are a couple of balls that he would have, in hindsight, not bowled and made things a little more difficult for the Indian batters. There was one down the leg side to, I think, Abhishek it was, and then there was one outside the off stump with his speed. If there's a little bit of room and on a mini ground like Eden Gardens, those are easy runs. But yes, coming back to your question, the form looked good, the pace looked good, so that's a positive sign for England.
So, what do England look to change going into the second game in Chennai?
Uh, I don't think they'll change anything. They'll be hoping to have a slightly easier batting surface. Clearly, the toss was very important, and they'll play in exactly the same fashion. If Saul gets going and Ben Duckett get going, things would be a little different. But watch out for the Indian batters, because I think they've got a bit of a wake-up call that this new India, batting, they have the skills, they have the T20, game, and they aren't worried about getting out. They aren't obsessed with getting 50s and 100s. They just want to go out there and maximize every opportunity, whether it's the bowler or the batter. I mean, Varun Chakravarthy bowling those balls full. When he gets a batter bowled, that means that he was brave enough to pitch the ball right up for the ball to hit the stump. So these are all guys um, who will excel in T20 cricket. And this is what you get when you get pure T20 talent together. And I hope the good work continues.
All right. It's proved to be a rather one-sided start to the series, but you can be sure, as we've seen of late, Sanjay, 5-match series might start one way, but they can change very quickly. Let's see where this T20 series takes us. Thank you so much. Yes, thank you so much. And we look forward to your company at the end of the Chennai T20I.